The diplomatic vessel Olive Branch moved slowly through the darkness of space. It was a small ship, simple in design, and it carried the hopes of 8 billion human souls. Ambassador stood at the observation window and watched the massive space station grow larger as they approached. Concord Station was the heart of galactic civilization. It floated in neutral space, far from any single species' territory. Here, the great powers of the galaxy met to discuss trade, war, and peace. And today, for the first time in history, humans would walk its halls. Took a deep breath. Her hands trembled slightly, but she hid them behind her back. She was 53 years old, a veteran diplomat who had ended 3 wars on Earth. But this was different. This was not a meeting between nations. This was a meeting between species. "Ambassador, we are receiving docking instructions," said Commander Jackson from behind her. He was young, only 32, but his eyes held a sharpness that had learned to trust. "Thank you, Commander. Tell the crew to prepare. And remember, we are guests here. We must show respect." Nodded, but something flickered in his eyes. Noticed, but said nothing. The Olive Branch entered the docking bay of Concord Station. Through the windows could see dozens of alien vessels. Some were massive, covered in weapons and armor. Others were sleek and beautiful, built for speed and elegance. Her own ship looked like a child's toy among giants. This was intentional. The airlock opened and stepped onto the station with her small delegation. The air smelled strange, recycled and filtered for hundreds of different species. The corridor was wide enough for creatures of all sizes. Lights of different colors lined the walls, accommodating eyes that saw in different spectrums. A group of aliens waited to greet them, recognized them from the intelligence briefings. The tall creature with 4 arms and mandibles that clicked as it breathed, that was High Commander Al of the Empire. His species controlled the largest military in the known galaxy. Behind him stood warriors in black armor, each one carrying weapons that could level a building. Beside Al floated a being made of living crystal. Light refracted through its body, creating rainbows on the walls. This was Merchant Prince of the Consortium. The controlled trade across 10,000 worlds. Their wealth was beyond human comprehension. And at the center stood an ancient creature wrapped in flowing robes. Its skin was gray and wrinkled, its eyes deep and knowing. Elder Prime had lived for over 2,000 years. His species had been traveling the stars when humans still lived in caves. These 3 formed the hegemony, the true rulers of the Galactic Union. "Welcome, humans," said Prime. His voice was soft, almost kind. "We are pleased that you have accepted our invitation. The galaxy is vast, and there is room for all who wish to live in peace." Bowed her head respectfully. "Thank you, Elder. Humanity is honored to be here. We come seeking friendship and understanding." Al made a sound that might have been laughter. His mandibles clicked rapidly. "Such humble words from such a young species. Your people have been in space for less than a century. You have much to learn." "We are eager students," replied, keeping her voice soft and agreeable. The merchant's crystals chimed as he spoke. "Indeed, and we have much to teach. The galaxy operates on certain principles: trade, protection, mutual benefit. We look forward to explaining these to you." Noticed how light shifted when he said protection. She filed this observation away and smiled politely. The delegation was led through the station to their quarters. Along the way, observed everything. She saw how other alien species stepped aside when the hegemony passed. She saw fear in their eyes, dozens of different species, all afraid of the same 3 powers. That night the hegemony met in a private chamber far from human ears, or so they believed. "They are perfect," Al said, his mandibles spreading in what passed for a smile among his kind. "Weak, naive, desperate to please. This will be easier than I expected." Crystals pulsed with satisfaction. "There sits on the largest deposit ever discovered, enough fuel to power our fleets for 10,000 years, and they have no idea of its value." The humans are primitive, Prime agreed. Their technology is at least 3 centuries behind ours. Their military is laughable. A few ships, some basic weapons. Nothing that could threaten even a minor power. Then we proceed with the plan, Al said. We offer them membership in the Union. In exchange, they give us access to their resources and accept our military presence on their worlds. If they refuse... They will not refuse, Prime interrupted. They are afraid. I saw it in the ambassador's eyes. She knows they cannot survive alone. She will accept any terms we offer. The 3 rulers shared a moment of silent agreement. They had done this before, many times. Young species were always the same. Full of hope, full of fear, so eager to join the galactic community that they would sign away their freedom without understanding what they had lost. By the time they realized the truth, it was always too late. Meanwhile, in the human quarters, sat with Commander in a room they had swept for listening devices 3 times. They are planning to exploit us, said quietly. Everything matches our predictions. Nodded slowly. They see what we want them to see, a small ship, a nervous ambassador, a young species desperate for acceptance. She paused. Did you complete the equipment check? Yes, Ambassador. All systems are ready. Plan Omega is standing by. Closed her eyes for a moment. She had hoped it would not come to this. She had genuinely wanted peace, real peace between equals. But she had been a diplomat long enough to know that some species only respected strength. We wait, she said finally. We let them show us their true intentions. We give them every chance to deal with us honestly, but if they try to make us slaves... She did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. Deep in the belly of the olive branch, hidden behind false walls and coded locks, weapons systems hummed quietly. The ship's true nature waited patiently in the darkness, ready to be revealed. And far away, in the asteroid belt of Earth's solar system, 400 warships drifted silently among the rocks. Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of the Thermopylae and watched the stars. His fleet had been hiding here for 3 years, training for a day they hoped would never come. Stone looked at the communication console. It was silent for now, but he knew that silence could end at any moment. Stay ready, he told his crew. When the signal comes, we move fast. The galaxy thought humanity was a lamb walking innocently into a den of wolves. They were wrong. The lamb had teeth. The lamb had claws. And the lamb had been preparing for this moment for a very long time. The peace talks would begin tomorrow, and the galaxy would learn a lesson it would never forget. The Grand Assembly Hall of Concord Station was a room designed to impress and intimidate. Its ceiling rose so high that clouds actually formed near the top. Thousands of seats arranged in circles surrounded a central platform where speakers addressed the gathered representatives of hundreds of species. Today, the hall was nearly empty. Only the hegemony and the human delegation occupied the vast space. This was not a public meeting. This was a private conversation between predators and what they believed was their prey. Ambassador sat at a small table facing the 3 rulers of the galaxy. Her delegation of 12 humans looked tiny and fragile compared to the armored warriors and the glowing merchants that surrounded them. "We have studied your species with great interest," began Elder Prime. His ancient voice echoed through the empty hall. "Humanity has shown remarkable progress in a short time. You have colonized your moon, built stations in orbit and sent ships to nearby stars. Most impressive for such a young civilization." Inclined her head. "You are too kind, Elder." "However," the Elder continued, "the galaxy is a dangerous place. There are threats you cannot imagine. Pirates, rogue species, cosmic disasters. A young civilization like yours needs protection." High Commander Al stepped forward. His 4 arms crossed over his armored chest. "The Empire has protected the galaxy for 50,000 years. Our warriors are the finest in existence. Under our shield, no harm will come to your people." "We are grateful for your concern," said carefully. "What exactly are you proposing?" Merchant Prince Crystals chimed as he produced a holographic document. "A simple arrangement. Humanity becomes a member of the Galactic Union. In exchange, you agree to certain terms." The document floated before his eyes. She read it slowly, her face revealing nothing. The terms were simple. Earth would grant the Union full access to all natural resources. Union military bases would be established on Earth, Luna, and Mars. Humanity's own military forces would be restructured under Union command. Human ships would not be permitted to carry weapons above a certain class. Human expansion would be limited to approved systems only. In exchange, humanity would receive protection and guidance. Recognized these terms. She had seen similar documents in Earth's history. Treaties forced upon conquered nations. Agreements that looked fair on paper but meant slavery in practice. "This is a generous offer," she said slowly. "But I have concerns about certain provisions. The clause regarding resource access, for example. It seems to give the Union unlimited rights too." "These are standard terms," Al interrupted. His mandibles clicked impatiently. "Every species that joins the Union accepts them. Are humans too proud to accept what others have gladly embraced?" Kept her voice calm. "We are not proud. We simply wish to understand fully before we commit. Perhaps we could discuss modifications too." "There will be no modifications." Al's voice had turned cold. "The terms are not negotiable." A heavy silence fell over the hall, looked at the hegemony and saw the truth in their eyes. There was no negotiation here. There never had been. This was a demand dressed in diplomatic language. Prime spoke again, his voice soft and almost sad. "Ambassador, I understand your hesitation, but you must consider your position. Humanity is alone in a very large galaxy. You have no allies, no significant military, no experience with interstellar politics. If you refuse our protection, who will help you when trouble comes?" "Is that a threat, Elder?" "Not at all, simply an observation. The galaxy is full of dangers. Pirates attack unprotected worlds. Diseases spread between systems. Accidents happen." He paused meaningfully. "It would be a shame if something unfortunate happened to Earth because you were too stubborn to accept our friendship." Felt cold anger rising in her chest, but she kept it hidden behind a mask of concern. "I see. These are serious matters. I must consult with my government before making a decision." Al made a dismissive gesture. "Consult all you wish. You have 24 hours. But understand this, human, there are only two paths before you. You accept our terms or you face the galaxy alone, and no species has ever survived alone." The meeting ended, and her delegation returned to their quarters in silence. The alien guards watching them seemed to smile knowingly. They had seen this before. The young species always resisted at first. Then reality set in, fear took hold, and they submitted. But as soon as the door closed behind them, something changed. Her nervous posture vanished. Her trembling hands became steady. Her soft voice turned to steel. She looked at Commander with eyes that held no fear at all. "They have revealed themselves," she said quietly. "Everything we suspected is true. They want Earth, and they are willing to threaten us to get it." Nodded. "The listening devices in this room are neutralized. We have approximately 3 hours before they realize and plant new ones. Then we move now." Activated a secure communication device hidden in her sleeve. "Protocol Jericho is authorized. Begin Phase 1. Across human space, encrypted signals raced through the darkness. On Earth, on Luna, on Mars, and on a dozen colonies scattered among the stars, people who had been waiting for years received their orders. In the asteroid belt, Admiral Stone received the signal on the bridge of the Thermopylae. He read the coded message twice, then looked at his tactical officer. "It's happening. Signal the fleet. All 400 ships, prepare for immediate departure." "Sir, are we at war?" Stone shook his head slowly. Not yet, but we will be ready if it comes. Back on Concord Station, the olive branch hummed with sudden activity. Engineers moved through hidden compartments, activating systems that were never supposed to exist. The ship's hull began to shift, panels sliding aside to reveal weapons ports that had been concealed since the day it was built. The olive branch had never been a diplomatic vessel. It was a wolf in sheep's clothing, a warship designed to look harmless. And now, for the first time, it was waking up. Stood in the center of her quarters and looked at her team. These were not just diplomats. They were soldiers, scientists, and intelligence officers who had trained for this mission for years. Tomorrow we return to the assembly, she said. We will give them one last chance. We will offer peace, real peace between equals. If they accept, we stand down and celebrate a new friendship. And if they refuse, asked. His eyes hardened. Then we show them the truth. We show them that humanity is not a lamb to be slaughtered. We came here with an open hand, but we also came with a closed fist. She paused. Earth did not survive 4 billion years of extinction events by being helpless. We learned to hide our strength. We learned to prepare for the worst while hopping for the best. We learned to carry weapons even when we smiled. She looked out the window at the alien ships surrounding Concord Station. Tomorrow, those ships would either become allies or enemies. There would be no middle ground. The hegemony thinks we are children, she said softly. Let them keep thinking that for a few more hours. When the sun rises on the 4th day of these talks, the galaxy will discover what humanity really is. In the darkness of space, 400 human warships began to move. They were fast, silent, and armed with weapons that no other species knew existed. For 200 years, humanity had watched the galaxy from the shadows. They had learned its secrets, studied its powers, and prepared for the day when they would finally step into the light. That day was almost here, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The 4th day of negotiations began like the others. Ambassador walked into the Grand Assembly Hall with her small delegation behind her. She moved slowly, as if carrying a heavy weight on her shoulders. To the watching aliens, she looked defeated, a leader who had spent the night realizing that her species had no choice but to surrender. High Commander Al could barely contain his satisfaction. His mandibles clicked with anticipation. Ambassador, have you reached a decision? Stopped at the center platform, she looked up at the hegemony with tired eyes. I have. And Merchant Prince Crystals pulsed eagerly. They were already calculating the profits from Earth's resources. Was silent for a long moment. Then she reached into her pocket and produced a small data chip. Before I give you our answer, I would like to present a counter-proposal. Al's mandibles spread in annoyance. We told you, human, the terms are not negotiable. Please, said softly, at least look at what we are offering. Elder Prime raised a withered hand. Let her speak. It costs us nothing to listen. Place the data chip on the platform. A holographic display activated, showing a simple document. The hegemony leaned forward to read it. The proposal was straightforward. Humanity requested full and equal membership in the Galactic Union. No resource agreements, no military bases, no restrictions on human expansion or weaponry, complete sovereignty over Earth and all human colonies. In exchange, humanity offered peaceful coexistence, fair trade, and mutual defense treaties between equals. Al burst into harsh laughter. His warriors joined him, their mandibles clicking in mockery. This is a joke. You are a species of 8 billion primitives with a handful of ships. You have nothing to bargain with. We have ourselves, said calmly. We have our world, our resources, our people. These belong to us, not to you. They belong to whoever is strong enough to take them. Al stepped forward threateningly. And you are not strong. You are weak, soft, helpless. Your entire fleet would not survive 5 minutes against a single battle group. Did not step back. Is that your final answer? It is more than an answer. It is a warning. Al raised one of his forearms. Since you seem unable to understand words, perhaps you need a demonstration. He signaled to someone outside the hall. Suddenly, the windows lit up with the glow of weapons powering up. Through the transparent walls, could see 30 warships around Concord Station. Their weapons were aimed directly at the human vessel. "The olive branch is surrounded," Al said with cruel pleasure. "Your little ship will be destroyed in seconds if you do not accept our terms immediately. Sign the agreement, human, or die here today." Looked at the warships outside. She looked at the armed warriors filling the hall. She looked at the 3 rulers of the galaxy, so confident in their power. Then she did something that confused everyone watching. She smiled. "Commander," she said quietly, "execute Protocol Omega." Touched his earpiece. "Protocol Omega confirmed. All units go loud." For a moment nothing happened. Then everything changed. Outside the station, the olive branch began to transform. Its innocent-looking hull split apart, revealing rows of weapon systems that made the watching aliens gasp. Missile ports, energy cannons, and defensive arrays emerged from hidden compartments. The small diplomatic vessel was gone. In its place floated a warship more advanced than anything they had ever seen. But that was only the beginning. Space itself seemed to tear open as 400 human warships materialized around Concord Station. They appeared from nowhere, using jump technology that the Union had not known existed. They moved into perfect formation in seconds, surrounding the fleet completely. The human ships were smaller than vessels, but something about them was terrifying. They moved too fast, turned too sharply, reacted too quickly. Their hulls were covered in weapons systems that sensors could not identify, and they kept coming, wave after wave, until the 30 were surrounded by an ocean of human steel. Al's mandibles froze mid-click. His warriors stood paralyzed. Even the ancient Prime seemed unable to speak. Smile faded, replaced by an expression as cold as space itself. When she spoke again, her voice was different. This was not the nervous ambassador they had seen for 3 days. This was someone else entirely. 200 years ago, she began, humanity detected its first alien signal. It came from a trade vessel passing through our solar system. We were excited. We thought we had found friends among the stars. She touched her data chip, and new images appeared on the holographic display. Images of alien species being conquered, enslaved, and exploited. But we watched, we listened, we learned. For 2 centuries we observed the Galactic Union from the shadows. We saw how you treated young species. We saw the protectorates, the resource agreements, the slow absorption of sovereign worlds into your empire. We saw the truth behind your kind words. The display showed human scientists studying alien technology, human engineers building ships in secret facilities, human soldiers training for a war they hoped would never come. So we prepared. Every ship you saw when we arrived was designed to look primitive. Every piece of technology we showed you was 3 centuries behind our true capabilities. Every nervous smile, every humble word, every sign of weakness. It was all theater. Al found his voice. "Impossible, our intelligence." "Your intelligence saw what we wanted you to see." Cut him off. "We knew your spies were watching. We fed them false information. We built fake factories and fake military bases. We played the role of the innocent primitive because we needed to know your true intentions." She gestured at the fleet outside. "This is our true military. 400 vessels, each one equipped with technology we developed in secret. We have weapons you cannot identify, defenses you cannot penetrate, and engines that can outrun anything in your fleet." Admiral Stone's voice came through the station's communication system. "This is Admiral Stone of the United Human Fleet. Your vessels are surrounded. We have no wish for violence, but we will defend ourselves if attacked. The choice is yours." Prime finally spoke. His voice trembled slightly. How did you hide this from us? We have watched a million species. None have ever deceived us like this. Looked at him with something almost like pity, because none of them came from Earth. None of them evolved on a death world. She began to walk slowly around the platform, her voice carrying through the silent hall. Our planet tried to kill us every day for 4 billion years. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, plagues, predators. 99% of all species that ever lived on Earth went extinct, but we survived. Do you know how? She stopped and faced the hegemony directly. By being paranoid, by assuming that everything wanted to kill us and planning accordingly, by hiding our strength until we needed it, by never, ever trusting that the universe would be kind. Pointed at Al. You evolved on a world where your kind was always the apex predator. You have never known fear. You have never had to hide and wait and prepare for generations just to survive. Her voice hardened. We have. That is why you did not see us coming. That is why you never will. The hall was completely silent. The most powerful beings in the galaxy stood frozen, trying to process what had happened. In the space of minutes, everything they believed about the young human species had been proven false. Returned to the center platform. Her counter-proposal still floated in the holographic display. Now, she said calmly, shall we discuss our terms again, this time as equals? Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The lamb had revealed its teeth and the wolves did not know what to do. Outside, 400 human warships waited in perfect silence. They had come for peace, but they were ready for war. The galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. The silence in the Grand Assembly Hall lasted only seconds, but it felt like hours. Every being present struggled to accept what they had just witnessed. The young, primitive humans had revealed themselves as something else entirely. 400 warships surrounded Concord Station. The balance of power had shifted in an instant. High Commander Al was the first to recover. His species had ruled through strength for 50,000 years. They had never retreated. They had never surrendered, and they would not start today. You think this changes anything? He snarled, his mandibles clicking with fury. A few hidden ships, some clever tricks. The Empire has crushed 1,000 rebellions. We have destroyed species far more powerful than you. Ambassador remained calm. We are not here for war, High Commander. We are here for peace. Real peace between equals. Take time to consider our proposal. There is no need for violence. But Al was beyond listening. His pride had been wounded in front of the entire hegemony. For a warrior, that was worse than death. All units, he commanded through his communication device, attack formation, destroy the human fleet. His 30 warships began to move. They were massive vessels, each one built for conquest. Their weapons had burned cities, shattered moons, and ended civilizations. They had never lost a battle. Admiral Stone's voice came through the human communication channels. All ships, defensive positions, weapons free, remember your training. The Battle of Concord lasted 11 minutes. In those 11 minutes, the galaxy learned the true cost of underestimating humanity. They attacked first, as they always did. Their plasma cannons fired in coordinated bursts, enough firepower to crack a small planet. But the human ships were not where they expected them to be. They moved with impossible speed, sliding between energy beams like water flowing around stones. Then the humans returned fire. Kinetic accelerators launched metal slugs at incredible velocities. These simple projectiles did not look impressive, but they hit with the force of nuclear explosions. Shields, designed to stop energy weapons, shattered under the impact. Hulls cracked. Engines exploded. They adjusted their tactics, trying to close the distance for boarding action. But electronic warfare systems blinded their sensors. Suddenly, they were fighting blind, shooting at targets that were no longer there. Human drone swarms emerged from carrier ships. Thousands of small, fast machines swarmed over vessels. They attached to weapon ports, sensor arrays, and engine exhausts. Then they exploded simultaneously, crippling ship after ship. Through the windows of Concord Station, the hegemony watched in horror as the finest military in the galaxy was taken apart piece by piece. Al screamed orders to his fleet. His warriors fought with desperate courage. When their weapons failed, they tried to ram the human vessels, a last resort tactic that had saved honor many times before. But the human ships simply moved. They accelerated, turned, and repositioned faster than anything their size should be capable of. The ramming attempts hit nothing but empty space. In 11 minutes, it was over. 22 warships drifted dead in space, their hulls torn open, their crews defeated. 8 more vessels had surrendered, the first time in history that a fleet had lowered its flag to an enemy. The human fleet had lost 0 ships. Elder Prime stared at the wreckage outside. His ancient mind struggled to accept what he had witnessed. There had been the unbeatable military power for 50,000 years. Now, in less time than it took to eat a meal, they had been humiliated by a species that had been in space for less than a century. Admiral Stone's voice echoed through the station. "This engagement is concluded. We will collect prisoners and render assistance to damaged vessels. We did not come here as conquerors, and we will not act as such." He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was harder. "But let this serve as a demonstration. We came here for peace. We still want peace. However, we will not be subjugated, colonized, or harvested for resources. The next species that threatens Earth will not receive our mercy." In the assembly hall, Ambassador watched Al carefully. The High Commander's mandibles hung slack. His warriors had lowered their weapons. For perhaps the first time in his life, the proud knew fear. "Do you understand now?" asked quietly. "We are not your enemies unless you force us to be. We do not want your territory, your resources, or your submission. We want only to be left in peace, and to be treated with the respect that every sovereign species deserves." Merchant Prince crystals flickered with rapid calculations. They were not warriors, they were traders, and traders knew when to cut their losses. "The consortium withdraws its support for military action," he announced. "Perhaps we were too hasty. Perhaps there is room for negotiation." Prime nodded slowly. The ancient elder had seen empires rise and fall. He recognized when history was changing. "I would speak with the ambassador privately," he said. "There is much to discuss." Agreed, and the two of them walked to a small chamber off the main hall. When they were alone, Prime seemed to shrink. He looked tired, ancient, and deeply troubled. "I have lived for 2,000 years, he said. "I have seen countless species join the Union. Some came willingly. Others were persuaded, but none have ever done what your people have done today." "We did not want this," replied honestly. "We hoped for better." "Yet you prepared for worse." Prime's eyes studied her carefully. "How long have you truly been watching us?" Hesitated, then decided on truth. 200 years. Since we first detected your signals. We have been monitoring your communications, studying your technology, and mapping your political structures ever since. You have intelligence inside the Union. We have intelligence everywhere. Produced a data chip and handed it to the elder. This contains a small sample of what we know. Trade agreements that violate your own laws, military operations against protected species, resources extracted from protectorate worlds under false pretenses. Prime's hand trembled as he took the chip. If this information were released, the Union would tear itself apart. Dozens of species would demand justice. Others would seek independence. Your carefully constructed order would collapse within months. The elder's eyes closed in pain. "What do you want?" His voice softened. "The same thing I asked for at the beginning, peace. Real peace between equals. We do not wish to destroy the Union, Elder. We wish to reform it. There is so much good that a true alliance of species could accomplish: exploration, trade, mutual defense, scientific cooperation. but it must be built on trust and respect, not exploitation and fear. Prime was silent for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was different, humbler, perhaps even hopeful. You humans are unlike any species we have encountered. You are young yet wise, gentle yet dangerous, honest yet capable of great deception. He looked at her with something like respect. Perhaps that is exactly what the galaxy needs. He straightened his ancient body with effort. I cannot speak for thee but the will support your proposal. Let us return to the assembly and begin building something new. Smiled, a genuine smile this time with no deception behind it. Thank you, Elder. That is all we ever wanted. They walked back to the assembly hall together. Outside the windows, the wreckage of the fleet drifted among the stars, a permanent reminder of what happened when the galaxy underestimated humanity. The peace talks were about to begin again, but this time they would be very different. This time humanity had a seat at the table, and they would never give it up. The weeks following the Battle of Concord changed the galaxy forever. News spread faster than any ship could travel. In every system, on every world, beings of hundreds of different species heard the impossible story. The young human species had faced the hegemony and won. The untouchable powers had been touched. The unchangeable order had changed. On Concord Station, new negotiations began. This time, there were no threats, no hidden agendas, no predators circling prey. Ambassador sat at a round table with representatives from across the galaxy, not just the hegemony, but dozens of species who had lived under their shadow for centuries. The empire fractured within weeks. High Commander Al was removed from power by his own people, disgraced by the first military defeat in their history. The new leadership was younger, humbler, and willing to consider something their ancestors never had: cooperation instead of conquest. The consortium moved faster than anyone expected. Merchant Prince, ever the practical businessman, arrived at the human colony on Mars before the Earth delegation even returned home. Trade agreements were signed within days. Human technology, it turned out, was worth far more than ore. They were particularly interested in human entertainment, art, and food, products that no other species in the galaxy could provide. The oldest in species became humanity's strongest advocates. Elder Prime made a speech to the Galactic Assembly that was broadcast to every corner of known space. He spoke of his people's arrogance, of the mistakes they had made in judging younger species, of the narrow escape they had all just experienced. We thought ourselves the masters of the universe, he said, his ancient voice heavy with regret. We thought we knew everything there was to know. Today, we learned that wisdom comes from many sources and that strength takes many forms. The humans have taught us a lesson we will never forget. But the greatest changes happened far from the halls of power. Across the galaxy, species that had been classified as protectorates began to stir. They heard what humanity had done. They saw that the great powers could be challenged, could be defeated. Small rebellions sparked on a dozen worlds. Oppressed peoples demanded the rights they had been. The old order, held together by fear and habit, began to crack. Humanity did not encourage these rebellions. They did not need to. They simply released the intelligence they had gathered over 2 centuries, evidence of corruption, exploitation, and broken promises. The truth did the rest. Within a year, the Galactic Union was dissolved. In its place rose the Galactic Accord, a new alliance built on principles that humanity insisted upon from the beginning: equal membership for all species, sovereignty and self-determination as fundamental rights, fair trade without exploitation, mutual defense without domination. Ambassador was elected as the first Secretary General of the Accord. She accepted reluctantly, knowing that many would see a human in that position as a symbol of new imperialism. But she worked every day to prove them wrong, listening to the smallest species, defending the weakest members, building bridges between old enemies. Commander Jackson was promoted to captain and given command of the Olive Branch, now revealed in its true form as one of humanity's most advanced warships. But his duties were no longer military. He served as an escort for diplomatic missions, a symbol of the strange truth about humanity. They came in peace, but they were always ready for war. Admiral Stone returned to Earth a hero, though he refused every celebration. "We did not fight for glory," he told reporters. "We fought because we had no choice. If we are wise, we will never have to fight again." On the first anniversary of the Battle of Concord, a ceremony was held on the station. Representatives from 300 species gathered to commemorate not a victory, but a beginning. Secretary General addressed the assembly one final time in her role as humanity's voice. "1 year ago, we came to this place as strangers. We were seen as primitives, as children, as easy prey. We could have become what you expected. We could have been conquered, exploited, and forgotten, another footnote in the long history of galactic expansion." She paused, looking around the vast hall. She saw warriors standing beside merchants. She saw ancient elders sharing seats with species so young they had only just discovered fire. She saw a galaxy that was finally learning to see beyond its old assumptions. "We chose differently. We chose to be ready. We chose to hide our strength until we needed it. Some have called this deception. Perhaps it was, but we did not deceive you to conquer you. We deceived you to survive and then to offer something better." She gestured at the gathering around her. "Look at what we have built together in 1 year. Trade routes that bring prosperity to worlds that knew only poverty. Scientific exchanges that advance all our peoples. Peace agreements between species that were enemies for. This is what we wanted from the beginning. This is why we came." Smiled, a warm, genuine smile that had become her trademark in diplomatic circles. An old teacher on Earth once wrote that the supreme art of war is to defeat the enemy without fighting. We came here prepared for battle, but hopping for something else. We got what we hoped for, and now, together, we can build a galaxy worth living in. After the ceremony, she found herself alone on an observation deck, watching the stars. The years of tension, of preparation, of fear, they were finally behind her. Humanity had taken its place among the stars not as conquerors or victims, but as partners. Captain found her there an hour later. He stood beside her in comfortable silence for a while before speaking. "A young student asked me something today. She wanted to know why we hid our strength, why we pretended to be weak when we came here." Nodded. "What did you tell her?" "I told her about Earth, about the ice ages and the volcanoes and the predators and the plagues. I told her that our world spent 4 billion years trying to kill us, and we learned to survive by being careful, by watching, by preparing." He smiled slightly. "By carrying a knife even when we smiled." Laughed softly. "And did she understand?" "I think so. She said her people had lived in comfort for 1,000,000 years. They had forgotten what it meant to struggle, to fear, to fight for survival. She said maybe that is why they could not see us clearly." They stood together, watching the endless field of stars. Out there somewhere was Earth, the blue marble that had raised a species tough enough to challenge the galaxy. And out there, too, were thousands of worlds now linked together in a new alliance, building a future that no one had imagined possible. "Do you think it will last?" asked. "The peace, I mean." Considered the question carefully. "I think so, not because we are stronger than everyone else, though we are ready if needed, but because we showed the galaxy something it had never seen before. We showed them that a species could be gentle and dangerous at the same time, peaceful and powerful, humble and unyielding." She turned to face him. "That is humanity's gift. We are not conquerors. We are not victims. We are survivors who learn to thrive. And now, finally, we can share that lesson with others." Far below them, ships from 100 different species moved through Concord Station's docking bays. Trade goods and diplomats and scientists flowed in every direction. The galaxy was changing, slowly but surely, into something better than it had been. And at the center of it all, small and young and impossibly stubborn, humanity had found its place among the stars. Not as the lamb they had pretended to be. Not as the wolves they might have become. But as something new, something the galaxy had never seen before and would never forget. They had arrived armed, yes, but they had also arrived with open hands and open hearts, and in the end, that made all the difference. The stars glittered in the endless dark. Somewhere out there, new adventures waited, new challenges would arise, new enemies might appear. But humanity would be ready, they always were. And now they would never be alone again.